What's up, y'all? It's Dakari Holder here once again, and I'm back to do another video that's movie related. Just in case you guys don't know, my channel is orientated around things I have a passion for, mainly movies and music. And I guess you can say I'm a geek or a nerd in those cases because I am very knowledgeable when it comes to those sort of things. This specific video is gonna focus on my entire Shaw Brothers DVD collection. Okay, so I've done videos of my Shaw Brothers DVD collection in the past, but this is just an updated version of my collection for 2019. Now, I've been collecting these films since the second grade, and it all started when I first got into Bruce Lee films. I started doing research after I started watching the movies for the first time, and I stumbled across some Shaw Brothers trailers on YouTube during that time, and I was hooked ever since. I started collecting in second grade when they started selling them, when they were selling them at Walmart, and my collection has grown ever since. And I have almost about like 50 titles, about 50 titles. I don't have like over 100 as a lot of people do, but I do have like over 50 titles at the moment. So yeah, let's just get on to it. Before we start, this is the collection on the shelf, as you can see there. So I've made a lot of progress, and to see how much my collection has grown over the years is just kind of insane. So, yeah. Just in case you guys don't know, Shaw Brothers Studio was an independent film company in Hong Kong that was really active during the 50s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. And they produced a lot of films in different types of genres, but they were very popular when it came to their martial arts films. They inspired many new filmmakers out here like Quentin Tarantino, and it definitely inspired the classic hip-hop group, the Wu-Tang Clan. And you can tell just by their name alone that they've been influenced by these movies from the beginning. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna start off with the Dragon Dynasty releases. Now, these were the first releases that I was able to get my hands on. These were like this was the first company, I think, that started releasing these movies in America on DVD and Blu-ray. So we start off with 36 Chamber of Shaolin. Making sure you guys can see it. My favorite martial arts film of all time, easily one of the best Shaw Brothers has to offer. A classic and a great place to start if you're trying to get into these movies. Widely considered to be the movie that started it all is King Boxer, aka Five Fingers of Death. It was better known as Five Fingers of Death when it first came out in America in 1972. Here we have the classic One-Armed Swordsman, came out in 1967. It's one of those beloved classic tales of martial arts wuxia folklore. Here we have Kung Drink With Me. I have yet to see this. I heard it inspired Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and the movies that came after that, but Kung Drink With Me, I definitely have to check that one out. Five Deadly Venoms, another classic. When I first saw this movie, this was actually the second Shaw Brothers movie I picked up. When I first saw this movie, I actually didn't know what to think because the movie was a bit all over the place for me, but I definitely loved these characters right here and watching them on screen do their thing. I still love it to this day. This is the very first Shaw Brothers film that I picked up. It was Return to the 36th Chamber. I was looking for the first one, but they had this one, so I was just like, it's whatever. It's the only one they had, so I was willing to check it out and pick it up, and I enjoyed myself. Growing up, when you watch this movie now, and if you've seen the first one, it's kind of goofy, definitely not as good as the first one, because the actor is actually playing a character pretending to be the character he played in the last film. Kind of goofy and complicated, but it's still a very enjoyable film and kind of funny too. Here we have an incredible sequel Return of the One-Armed Swordsman. All the inventive weaponry comes along and all the cool villains come along. This is by far one of the most inventive martial arts films that Shaw Brothers has to offer, and definitely a really good sequel when it comes to characters. And Jimmy Wang Yu definitely delivers one of his strongest performances. Now we have a personal favorite of mine, the 8 Diagram Pole Fighter. This is by far one of the most serious, graphically violent, and I don't even know, man. This movie has to be seen to be believed. It's a classic. I guess you could call this an 80s action movie because it came out in 1983, 1984, and a legendary actor, Alexander Fusheng, passed away during production of this film in a car accident, so rest in peace to him. Here we have my favorite Venoms film, Return of the Five Deadly Venoms, better known as Crippled Avengers. I could watch this movie all day if I want to. And here we have Shaolin Mantis, another classic, starring one of my favorite actors, David Chang. The third film in the 36 Chamber trilogy, Disciples of the 36 Chamber. Not as good as the first one, but still entertaining on its own. Five Shaolin Masters, very enjoyable film from the Shaolin cycle. One of my favorites, Executioners from Shaolin. Here we have Mad Monkey Kung Fu right here. This one's hilarious. Jet Li, Martial Arts of Shaolin. I think this was the only Shaw Brothers film he ever did, because this was in fact a Shaw Brothers co-production, but it was remastered by Celestial Pictures, who obtained the rights to a lot of these Shaw Brothers films. So yeah, this one's very entertaining. Here we have two of my absolute favorite Shaw Brothers movies, Avenging Eagle and Blood Brothers. Avenging Eagle being one of my top 10, if not top 5 of all time. And Blood Brothers is kind of like that Scarface-esque type story. Then we have Golden Swallow and Killer Klans on a double feature here again. I watched Killer Klans recently and I love it. I think it's one of the best clan fiction / wuxia films that Shaw Brothers has to offer, you know. And then we have these last two Dragon Dynasty Shaw Brothers films that Dragon Dynasty released, and that is The Flying Guillotine. I watched this one recently too. This one's incredible and very extremely entertaining. Has lots of cool special effects with head cleaving and all that, because the Flying Guillotine is an iconic weapon. So that one. And then I didn't even know they made a sequel until I picked this up, and I watched this recently too. Not as well realized as the first Flying Guillotine, but definitely still fun and entertaining film. This one's very serious and kind of angry in a way, and on a technical standpoint it's a little weird because it had 2 directors, and you can tell when you watch it. So yeah, Flying Guillotine 2. That's all for the Dragon Dynasty. Let's move on to the Well Go USA releases. Well Go USA, I'm not really sure how long they've been releasing these films on a DVD, but I was able to obtain a box set for Christmas when I was in 3rd grade, and I was just hooked on the releases ever since. Start off with 2 Champions of Shaolin. I like how they did the Swordmasters label thing. This one kind of hasn't aged too well, but it's still very entertaining. It's from the director of the Five Deadly Venoms. Hold on. There you go, better light. So yeah, this is from the director of the Five Deadly Venoms, and some parts haven't, like I said, this really hasn't aged too well when it comes to script and acting, but when it comes to like the technical aspects of like martial arts choreography and cinematography, this movie excels. Another clan fiction wuxia film from the early 80s called The Duel of the Century. This movie's like really, really entertaining, and it demands you to pay attention to its plot because it has a lot going on. It's kind of like a Chinese Sherlock Holmes in a way. This is definitely one to check out. And The Battle Wizard. Now, when I first saw this movie, this is one I used to watch a lot every time I came home from school. And it's a very short movie too, like 70-something minutes, but it's still heavily entertaining. Some weirdly nice practical effects for the time this was made in the 70s. And you know, it's kind of like an anime film. You know, it feels almost like anime in a way. So I recommend it based off of that. And next we have another Chang Cheh film. Here we have the heroic ones with the Iron Triangle this time around. The Iron Triangle being actors David Chang, T. Long, and director Chang Che. They did a lot of films together, and this is one of them. I haven't watched this one in a while, but I hear it's like an epic film of trust issues and family and loyalty and all that, so it sounds kind of interesting on that aspect alone. So I'll get around to it one day. Here we have a sequel to the acclaimed Water Margin, which I actually do own. It's called All Men Are Brothers. Now, I haven't really watched this one all the way through either, but I've seen plenty of clips, and the movie really looks nice, and the fight scenes are really cool. So I definitely plan on checking this out too. And look who's there. Who's that? That's David Chang and T. Long. This one's directed by Chang Che. Like I said, they did a lot of films together. This happens to be one of them. I have The Brave Archer and His Mate, another Chang Che film, which is one of my least favorite Shaw Brothers films. The plot is convoluted and the acting's not really that good, but Fu Sheng definitely makes up for it because he's a brilliant actor. Now, let's get into the Tokyo Shock Media Blasters releases that I have. They released a great amount of Shaw Brothers films. So these are the ones that I actually have. Heroes 2 and The Master. Haven't really watched Heroes 2, but The Master is actually really good. It's a fan favorite of some of my uncles and relatives who grew up watching these movies. Next up, we have The First Brave Archer, which is actually really good. It took me a while to really be mature and understand some of the things that happen in this movie. Other than that, I think this is really well fleshed out and slipcover is really nice. Last but not least, for the Tokyo Shock Media Blasters releases, we have Iron Bodyguard. Now, every time I watch this movie, I end up falling asleep and then not finishing it. But I'll get around to it one day. It stars Chen Kuan-tai, who's one of my favorite Shaw Brothers actors. And again, it's directed by Chang Che and Pao Shui Lee, so I'll definitely get around to this. Now we go on to the Image Entertainment releases. Now, of course, a lot of these American companies, they've definitely released a great amount of Shaw Brothers films. I just really haven't got, a hold of all of them. I'll get around to them one day, but I don't know when. So that's the issue. Money problems. We'll start off with The Water Margin. This was one of my absolute favorite Shaw Brothers movies when I was younger. And I still really do think this is a great Shaw Brothers film. I just don't think that it's quote-unquote masterpiece, as I used to call it. Very entertaining, very unusually epic for Shaw Brothers standards, and very enjoyable. And David Chang and T. Long turn up in this too. So see this for the huge final fight scene at the end of the movie. Some really nicely choreographed, nicely shot fight scenes. Here we have quite an unusual out of the bunch, but still one of my all-time favorites, Super Inframan. From 1975. This is like a juxtaposition of Power Rangers and Ultraman, or basically the love child. This is like heavily entertaining in the sense of practical effects, men in monster suits and crazy over-the-top villains. It's just extremely entertaining and it's a lot of fun. This may not be for everybody who would like to get into this film catalog, but I highly recommend it if you're willing to watch something that's kind of quirky, kind of fun, and a bit over the top. Definitely something to look forward to. 4-film set called Legendary Heroes. It comes with the movies The Shadow Whip, Shaolin Intruders, which I have seen, and I think it's one of the best Shaw Brothers movies out there. And it feels a lot like anime in a way. And Legendary Weapons of China, which I watched recently, I have to watch it again because I'm not sure about the film's ending. And The Deadly Breaking Sword, which has T. Long and Fu Sheng in it. R.I.P. Fu Sheng. Anything Fu Sheng is in, guaranteed it might be really good. Now let's move on to the nitty-gritty. Oh man. These next two here are kind of like weird in the sense of releases. The first one I have is Drunken Monkey. I had this one for the longest. I just could never find a DVD case for it. and I had to print out a DVD cover for it, which I thought was kind of fitting. This is a later Shaw Brothers film that was released in like the early 2000s, and it's very familiar, but it's entertaining. You know, it's from the same director of 36 Chambers of Shaolin. So this weird copy of 5 Super Fighters, which is like a VHS print converted onto this DVD, which I prefer the remastered version, so I'm gonna have to look for another copy of this. But you know, it doesn't look too bad, and the movie itself is actually pretty good. It's fairly overlooked. Now let's get into the quote-unquote Shaolin collection released by Bonsai Media. I don't want to call these bootlegs, but I highly suggest you buying these copies specifically if you can't find them anywhere else, or if you don't have a region-free DVD or Blu-ray player. We start off with Death Chambers, better known as Shaolin Temple. This is one of the ones I've been wanting to see for a while, and I haven't really got around to it, but I will eventually. And it says Shaolin Collection right here. All of these have Shaolin Collection at the bottom. Then we have the Brave Archer Part 2 and the Brave Archer Part 3. I have all the Brave Archer movies. I haven't got around to these yet, but eventually I will. Flag of Iron, one of the craziest Shaw Brothers films I've ever seen in terms of plot and in terms of choreography. They're fighting with flags in this movie. Like, it's insane. This version in particular, the only audio option is the terrible English dub, and I hear there's a better version of this released by Tokyo Shock, which I'm gonna have to get that soon, but this will hold me over for now. 10 Tigers of Kwang Tung, I started watching this a few weeks ago. This one's fairly entertaining. You know, it's not like amongst the great Shaw Brothers movies, but this one's definitely entertaining. T Long and Fu Shang in here as well. Avenging Warriors of Shaolin, better known as Shaolin Rescuers, one of my favorites. Killer Army, better known as The Rebel Intruders, another Venom's film, which I haven't seen yet. Legend of the Fox, another Venom's film. Again, there's a lot of these there's a lot of these films from Shaw Brothers that are directed by Chang Che that feature the Venom mob, the same actors that were from the 5 Deadly Venoms. And some are good, some are not too good. So I haven't really got around this one yet, but this one's supposed to be kind of weird. I have seen this one. This one's not too bad. Stars Richard Harrison as Marco Polo. Marco Polo is actually the original title of the film. You know, it's all about Marco Polo going to Mongolia and then meeting up with Kublai Khan, and Kublai Khan's reign in China, and then he becomes investigator, detective, blah, 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 blah. And then he meets 4 laymen who become kind of like assassins or protectors for Marco Polo, because he gets kind of framed. I don't know, I haven't seen this in a minute, but this one's fairly entertaining. And Fu Shang, again, brilliant actor. And here we have Cat vs. Rat, also starring Fu Shang again. He's been in a lot of these movies. Gordon Liu from the 36 Chambers of Shaolin. This one's directed by Lau Kar Long, same director. And I haven't really got around this one yet, but this one's supposed to be kind of goofy. So yeah, it came out in the early 80s too, 1982. This Fist of the White Lotus. Now, this is one of the ones I actually grew up watching. Not grew up watching, but my dad, he put me onto this movie when I was getting into Shaw Brothers, and I was hooked ever since. I love this movie. This is one of my favorite Kung Fu movies of all time. And just solely based off of Lo Li's performance as the White Lotus, I mean, he's amazing. And he directed this movie too, so check this one out. Fist of the White Lotus. I have The Kung Fu Instructor, starring T Long in titular role, and this is from director Sun Chung, who is one of my all-time favorite directors in Shaw Brothers. I mean, the way he uses the camera in certain fight scenes is just incredible. Like the camera movements in certain fight scenes, I just love Sun Chung based off of that topic alone, and this is no exception. Last but not least, we have House of Traps. This is another Venom mob film from the legendary director Chang Che. Haven't got around to this one yet, but this one's supposed to be kind of goofy with some good practical effects in House of Traps as well, so this is supposed to be entertaining. Five Fingers of Death. Now, I got this copy before I had the Dragon Dynasty edition. I just wanted to see the movie, so this one's obviously bootleg, but it has remastered picture quality, so yeah. I just like this cover. Like, this cover is really nice. It's minimal. It has the main character, you know, that iconic image that you see. I might give this away soon. I'm thinking about it. So there you have it with my Shaw Brothers DVD collection. I have been collecting for years and years, and I'm still collecting. I'm surprised at like I said before, I'm surprised at how much my collection has grown, and it will continue to grow because these movies have influenced me, have affected me for the majority of my life, and I'm glad that I'm still able to watch them and just gain so much knowledge from them, because I do plan on making my own movies one day, and I just derive inspiration from these movies. So do yourself a favor, go pick you up some Shaw Brothers movies. They're still fairly cheap on Amazon or on eBay. They're all over the place on Amazon and eBay. So yeah, go get you some Shaw Brothers movies. Thank you guys for still sticking with me, watching my videos. Due to the fact that, you know, I'm lacking in posting any new content. So I just wanted to, you know, catch you guys with some new content on the way. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting. I really appreciate it. I will try to make more videos soon, because I'm a rising senior in high school now. So there's gonna be a lot coming at me at once. So definitely expect some more videos coming to you soon. As always, you guys stay blessed, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.